Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may be. Welcome to this collaboration between Gunners Short and Chakra News. I am Sandeep Punithan, and as always, I'm joined on this show by Lieutenant General P.R. Shankar. General Shankar, welcome to the show this morning, the first show that we're doing in 2026. So, Happy New Year to you all.
Yeah, and thanks a lot, Sandeep. Happy New Year to you and your entire Chakra team. And the first show of Gana Shot plus Chakra for 2026. And we're going to start with Iran, where
Absolutely. Yeah.
Iran ended the year in chaos and it's starting
Yes.
the year with a lot of turmoil. So, set the stage.
Absolutely. Jan Shankar, protests in Iran, public protests in Iran have a way of, reshaping that country's politics. We've seen that in 1978 when there was a massacre that the Shah of Iran ordered, where 64 or so protesters were killed in Tehran, and that led to a cascade of events. There, you see the visual there, which led to the Shah fleeing the country in 1979. And of course, the arrival of Ayatollah Khomeini. And of course, that is a second massacre in 1988. That hasn't gotten the kind of attention that the first one did because it did not change the regime. This was ordered in the closing phase of the Iran-Iraq war, when Ayatollah Khomeini is believed to have ordered the execution of several hundreds, if not thousands, of dissidents within Iran. So these are the two massacres that have literally reshaped Iranian politics. In one in 1978, the other in 1988, and of course we've seen the protests 3 years back in Iran over the killing of Mahsa Amini. And what we are seeing today, 3 years later, the most violent protests, they're the most significant protests in Iran since those protests 3 years ago. The protests, of course, began on the 28th of December. They've continued for the last couple of days. And President Donald Trump has actually weighed in, saying that if Iran were to crack down on these protesters, the US would be locked and loaded and ready to go. There you go. That's his statement. If Iran shoots and, of course, he's misspelled it. If Iran shots and
That's okay.
violent peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue. We're locked and loaded, ready to go. So, Jan Shankar, do you believe this is the time, January 3rd, are we going to witness regime change in Iran? Is this finally going to happen? There have been many such calls in the last couple of years, like the Mahsa Amini protests, widespread across Iran. They attracted a lot of international attention as well. But what leads you to believe that the protests this time around are very different from what we witnessed in the past?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sandeep. At the outset, I must say you've set the stage. This is a country ever since 1979 has gone through upheavals.
Right.
So this upheaval is probably not as violent as before. It is not as so far it has not got the critical mass, right? But what is happening is something completely different. I would put it more in the form of what happened in Sri Lanka. The nearest equivalent I get is Sri Lanka.
Right.
But I'll come to that. I'm putting a cart before the house so that people know where this cart is heading. Right. So like you rightly said, the time of the regime change during Ayatollah Khomeini's time to Khamenei's time, a lot of violence, revolution. That is a real revolution, gory revolution. I've lived through that, right? But what's happened today is slightly different. So I would like to put it in context, and then we'll see where this whole story is going. And I think it's not only Iran, we also need to see the wider Middle East, what's happening in Yemen, because today Yemen is, there's been bombings in South Yemen and Hadramaut.
Yes.
And then we'll have a look at what's happening in Sudan also towards the end, and in Somali Land, because these are all connected in some way. The Middle
This is
East
what
chaos,
happens
which will
when
never
friends fall out of favor and they fall
out
out
of
of
favor and all. Yeah.
romance.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So this is called friends with benefits. So I'll take you through a small presentation about Iran, and
Let's
then we
go.
will see.
Yes.
Let's go. There's a small clip by Al Jazeera. Look, this is of fourth today. Today is the seventh day. So things have moved forward in some manner and not. But this gives you the whole story as to what's happening.
I'm guessing these are taken by protesters. These.
Yeah. No, this is by Al Jazeera. This is Al Jazeera clip.
Right.
Okay.
So we're looking at protests across Iran in the last couple of days, and
it all started with seven have been killed. It's also that the economic collapse of Iran, which is happening, and Pezeshkian he's reached out with the olive branch. He's the good thing, or I wouldn't say good thing. The issue which is to be noted this time is the Iran government has not responded with the iron hand.
Right.
They're
conscious about what happened in 1978. They know
They're showing some kind of restraint. Right? That's important. Okay. And if I go a little deeper, because this is all about economy. That's why I said the linkage between what's happened in Sri Lanka and here. It will be good for us to think. Inflation rate of 48.6%. This was as of October.
Right.
Okay. Which is horrible. I mean, you can just think. Okay. Real GDP growth, just 0.5%.
Right.
Throughout 25.
Nothing. Yeah.
That's nothing. The real kicker is this. The Iranian real. This, what I've shown in green, I mean, this spike, it happened in December. The Iranian real 42,000 per dollar is the official rate. The open market rate in which they normally deal, right, is 1,037,000 reals. Yeah, this is it. 1,037,000.
10 lakh reals to a dollar.
Yeah, dollar. Just think. Insane. So this is huge. This is like Weimar Germany, where you could go with a sack full of notes to get one loaf of bread, kind of a situation. That's where this is heading.
Right.
Okay.
And this was never the case, General Shankar, in the Masa Amin protest, right? I mean, the economy you're looking at.
I'll come to that. Yeah, this is it. Let's take the recent protests. That's why I've recorded all four. 2009, the Green Movement. That even then the inflation was 28%.
28%.
At that time, the Iranian $1 meant 9,900 reals.
Right.
Okay. But the thing was, that was a political protest against vote rigging and all that, and it was far more violent.
Right.
Maximum number of people died then. That was a time when this Mohammed Ahmadinejad was the PM.
Right.
Then they had a protest in 2017-18. Again, that was fundamentally because of economic issues.
Right.
At that time, the equation of a dollar was 40,000 reals.
Right.
Okay. That started because it was 40,000 reals. It ended with 135,000.
Right.
Okay. In 2018. 2019 protests, again, basically it was economic. Okay. Sharp increase in fuel prices. From 135, a dollar went to 332,000 reals. If that was not bad, look at 2023, 2022, 23 Masa Amini protests.
Yeah.
What did she protest for? She said, don't want to wear a hijab and things like
Yeah,
that. I mean,
that's
the
right.
normal thing, which, right? And
Yeah.
they took her in, 19-year-old girl, did what they want and died. And then Iran went into topsy-turvy kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And at that time, it fell to 820,000 reals per dollar. Today, it's gone to 1.4 million reals per US dollar.
That's the highest it's ever
Now, what
been.
is
Yeah.
the highest it's ever been? What is the major issue in this whole story? Is this there's no comeback from here. It's been 7 days.
Right.
Protests are happening, and there's no comeback.
There's a point of no return has been crossed, is it?
Yeah, I don't know that, but look at the protests. The protests are all over the country. There, it's reached about 70 cities as of today.
Right.
Right. And the Iranians have not done a crackdown. They have not done a crackdown so far, right? They're laying off. But at the same time, the protests are not abating.
Right.
And this fundamental thing is, okay, whatever happens, what do you do with the economy of this place?
Yeah, the economic growth is less than 1% of
1%, and there's no way to retrieve the whole position. If there's no way to retrieve the position, what will happen to the people?
Yeah, it starts hurting. When it starts hurting your belly, I guess that's when things get really
that's
bad.
when this thing bad, and things have already. The bazaar is shut shop. The whole thing started with the bazaar stopping. The shopkeepers have down the shutters.
Right.
So far, they have not opened. There is no way they can open, because overnight, if your currency has devalued by 50%, no chap can do anything, right? And USA has done what it has done. It has said, look, USA is very clearly going in for regime change. Right? USA is very clearly going in for regime change. China has not stepped forward. In fact, China can't step forward because China is in its own mess.
Right.
Russia can't step forward. Of course, yesterday, day before, there were clips showing a lot of planes have coming from Belarus and S-76. But what will they do? What will they do? What will 10 or 20 plane loads do in a country like this, which is, maybe riot control equipment and things like that? But how many people will you kill? Okay. So I think this is a kind of a different thing. I don't know how you're going to keep Iranians inside, because Iran is a completely import-dependent economy. There's nothing made in Iran except, right. So Russia can't help. Russia has its own economic problems. China is not helping. Who will help? Definitely the Middle East, no one will help. And we also have to remember Iran's power in terms of, what it had, its Houthis and Hezbollah and the Yemenis.
That was going to be my next question, Jan Shankar. What you just mentioned, the Houthis and the Hezbollah, which is that so-called axis of resistance. Iran
that's gone.
Calculated big time by jumping into that war with Israel in Gaza, October 2023.
Yep. And that's finished. That entire power they had gone. Iraq gone. And then they went through that war with Israel, and we know what happened. All their nuclear facilities gone. A lot of degradation militarily. Okay.
Right.
I mean, you might say whether Iran has got nuclear weapons or not, but internally, how will people feel? You see, they've been hammered. People have died. So that there's a lot of dissatisfaction within the country. Will this dissatisfaction achieve that critical mass? We don't know. Right. Yesterday, I felt that, look, the next 28 to 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours are important. I still maintain that. Today, depends which way the whole thing will swing. Will the Iranian government, because this chap, Peskashian, he's a heart surgeon. He's good. He's got some sense. He's got some sense. Moderate.
Yes.
right? So he's already made statements. Look, this is a problem. It's not USA. It's not this, not that. It's our internal problem which we have to solve. We're not able to solve it. So he says everyone should get together, solve. He's reaching out with the olive branch. He's restrained the security forces. IRGC restrained. Of course, there are reports that some of these mullahs have run away. There are reports some of these security forces have joined the protesters. But if you look at it yesterday and today, it's not so bad. It's not. But can it go worse? Yes. Yesterday evening, Tehran, South Tehran was in trouble. So it's an iffy kind of a situation. I still feel it will take another, to get the right thing, 48 hours, you'll know which side this is going. But
Right.
I look at it from a very simplistic point of view. Where do people go? Is there an option with IMF is not going to bail them off, World Bank is not going to bail them off, USA is not going to bail them off. Who will bail them out?
Yeah, China has,
now
as you
you
mentioned, has its own problems. The Russian Federation has its own problems. It's fighting a war in Ukraine, and it's got other things to worry about. So, I mean,
God,
Iran is pretty much on its own, as you said.
on its own. You look at the equation. I mean, I equate it again with what happened in Sri Lanka. I mean, others equate it for many other places, but Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, when the meltdown happened, it was an economic meltdown like this. People came to the streets, and it didn't happen overnight, right? And when people came onto the streets, who stood by the people? The army. The army stood by. The army said, "We'll resume the democratic process." There was some kind of a democratic process, though hijacked, in place. The democratic process and the army stood by the nation. Then who came in to bail Sri Lanka out? India. India gave fuel, India gave foodstuff, everything, and then India stood by Sri Lanka with IMF.
Right.
Okay. Oh, you had a big power next to you standing in Sri Lanka. So recovery was there. It's taken a long time, but recovery is there. People are getting on with life and all.
But Iran is a large country. I mean, it's much bigger than Sri Lanka. It's what 10 times
92
the size
million.
of
Yeah, 10 times the size of Sri Lanka. So where do these people go today? I mean, let me ask you that question. What do you think in the current?
I pretty much think that Iranians are on their own right now, and I think it is for them to decide what they need to do best. And the fact is, I was going to ask you if you see India actually stepping forward to help Iran if things go out of hand, for instance. We will, of course, not give military aid, but there is a lot of other civilian aid. If people are not getting food, for instance, if there's a breakdown in law and order, and supplies are not reaching cities or something like that, then that's a fit case for India to intervene and humanitarian.
But the fact is that will you be able to intervene with USA taking the stand it has taken now? You see, whatever you did in Sri Lanka, you did because the USA said, please do it. We'll not get involved. You do it. And in fact, if you remember, Mr. Trump, when Mr. Modi met Trump in January, February, he said, he spoke about Bangladesh and all. He said, you do what you want to do. With Bangladesh. Right. He did say that, implicit in that was Sri Lanka.
Changed his stance, I guess.
Changed his stance. So USA, they let India take the lead. But in this case, taking the lead is no option. You don't have an option of taking the lead.
But will the US oppose India's, humanitarian aid? If we send a mission, a couple of ships to Chabahar, assistance for the people of Iran. I mean, we have the best relations with the Iranian people. I mean, whoever comes as the regime, but we have civilizational ties. So, if we were to send aid, do you think the United States would oppose that?
Yes, they would. Let's not have doubts. We are in a real politics situation as far as thing. I go with you that India is in the best position to bail out Iran. But can you do it politically at this point of time? Okay. And so I don't know whether we'll have, but given the fact that if there is a global signal,
Right.
global signal will come from home. The global signal will have to come from the Middle East and USA.
Right.
No one else. Okay. Russia will back you if you go there, right? China, you leave out because China has ditched Iran during the war also. So
That's
China
right.
has no go.
No major
Only
supplies.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
But that will come only if there's a political change in Iran.
Right.
So that's my view, all right? And
Yeah.
if there's a
Very
political,
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
if there's a political change in the offing in Iran, then it's a golden opportunity for us to get into Iran and help them out.
Right.
Help them out the way we helped Sri Lanka. We have this model. The way we helped Maldives, though they were small countries,
Yeah.
the payoffs have been big. Similarly, if you help the Iranians out, the payoffs will be huge. And I don't think anyone except India has the capability to bail out Iran on a people-to-people basis, country-to-country basis.
But the
I
point
mean,
that
you
you're
know,
saying that the United States will oppose this, that's I mean, that's going to be a dampener, right? And the fact is that
dampener.
obviously the US wants to put them into a pressure cooker kind of a situation,
Yeah,
and they want to
where
cook the
things.
regime.
Yeah. The point is, even if I'm looking at it a situation. Let's look at it a situation and say in 3 days, this regime falls. A new
Right.
regime is brought in USA by USA.
Right.
Even if that happens, how will the situation get stabilized?
Hmm.
How will the situation get stabilized? Will USA come in to stabilize Iran? No, it can't. I'll tell you why. The reason is that there are a lot of there will still be a constituency in Iran who doesn't like USA around.
Right. The
Just
hardliners.
because hardliners are still there. Don't and the hardliners have not made a move so far. So
Right.
that might happen today or tomorrow. So if USA can't enter, USA will not let Russia enter. Because if there's a new regime in Iran, one of the countries which will get hit hardest will be Russia. Trump will ensure nothing goes to Russia. Those drones and all which used to go from Iran will be stopped. And they'll ensure that nothing comes from Russia. That will give him a golden opportunity to stop the Ukraine war. So, look, if Iran goes, there's a lot of, I mean, if it goes the way Trump is planning out, because Trump has shown his hand out,
Yeah.
USA gets a lot of benefit, right? USA gets a lot of benefit. USA then will call shots from the Mediterranean to the Arabian Sea, unopposed. Okay? In which case it will not let anyone. Who is the one who can at best let? India. The Iranians won't take any help from Pakistan, and Pakistan can't help anyone. So who's left?
Right. That's us. We are 1,000
Who's left?
kilometers away from Iran, right?
Just
our
that,
ports
and
are 1,000 kilometers away. Yeah.
so I think in this whole story, we have a great opportunity, provided there's a regime change. In a
Right.
funny way, if there's a regime change in Iran, it's possible that the India-US equations will change for the better.
Why do you say that?
Look, India will have all the credentials to go and bail out or pull Iran out of its problems, right? And USA has got no other option. So we'll start cooperating on this issue. Once that cooperation starts, things will start changing.
Right.
I mean, I have no doubt about it.
Just to understand, you're saying that we can't intervene right now, as in humanitarian assistance can't be sent because the US doesn't want us there, right?
Yeah.
For various reasons, that we will be seen as supporting the regime. But you're saying that we need to wait it out, we need to wait and watch in the next 48, 72 hours, and then, possibly in the event of a regime change, only then intervene and send assistance.
Yep. I have no doubt about that. At this point, you can't. And at this point, whom do you reach out to? See, whom do you reach out to? Do you reach out to the current regime, which itself is on shaky grounds? See, even in Sri Lanka, you didn't reach out to anyone till the milk boiled over, if I say so metaphorically.
Yeah.
Till the things, the Rana Singh is that president's the palace got ransacked, and people, you have to let that happen. Yeah. And if in the meanwhile Iran recovers in the next 48 hours, all the best to them.
Right.
They'll still need you. No, I'm coming to the second point. They'll still need you. If the regime recovers, they'll still need us because you're the only one who has Chabahar port.
Yes.
You still operating Chabahar port 1,000 kilometers away, and USA has tacitly said, please go ahead, operate. They've given you 6 months extension. So you are operating Chabahar port and you can still help them. Who's the one who's got who's got a footprint in Iran today? India.
Right.
Right? I mean, you've shown that Chabahar port, isn't it? Let me pull that. Wait, let me pull that picture up. Yeah, let me pull that picture up. This is what you got. Yeah, so you have that Chabahar port. You have the capability to go through Chabahar, and this is where Chabahar is. And
through Afghanistan
and of course,
through Central Asia.
That's a later day story. And of course, if you get things going, you have the INSTC, this.
Yes.
So that going. But then you leave all this out. You forget all these corridors and all out. First, you have to right size Iran. And how do you right size Iran is, what I've tried to explain to you.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
So I think we are in a great opportunity, and we'll see how this goes as we go ahead. But I think we need to change any questions on this and your views.
So, Janishankar, the fact is that I feel Iran overplayed its hand in October 2023 when they jumped into this conflict, the Gaza conflict, which began, of course, with a horrific massacre of Israeli civilians, 1,200 of them by Hamas. And Iran then activated its so-called axis of resistance, which had been built over 20 years. That is starting from Saddam Hussein's collapse in 2003, right up to 2023, which is a so-called ring of all of these proxy actors that it's cultivated over 2 decades, starting from Hezbollah. Hezbollah, of course, is the creation of Iran from the 80s. So Hezbollah, Hamas, then you go further down, you have the Houthis, then you come up, you have Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq. And you had the so-called, a corridor, a Shia corridor that you could drive from the Mediterranean to the Arabian Sea without crossing one single Sunni Arab-ruled country. Because you had Syria, which is ruled by the Alawites. You had Iraq, of course, and of course Iran. So right up to the boundaries of Pakistan, that's a little beyond Chabahar, it was all Shia controlled. It was a Shia bloc that they had created, and that's what the Americans did when they toppled Saddam Hussein, who was incidentally Sunni Arab. So yeah, the map explains it. So that so-called axis of resistance, some of those stars stand for the axis of resistance.
Yeah, we'll come to that. These are the current problems in Middle East, because they have a bearing. I put this. We'll talk about it.
And they actually start with that point when the axis collapsed, when the Iranian axis, when the Israelis fought with hammered Hamas, they decapitated Hezbollah. Kataib Hezbollah has been very quiet in Iraq. The Houthis are under a lot of pressure. And I think what has happened since in the last 2 years is a very, very interesting realignment of forces in West Asia, where you have new players now entering the scene. As you mentioned at the start of the program, we see Turkey entering with its proxy actors in Syria. We see the UAE and Saudi Arabia, who were actually thick as thieves. I mean, very, very close, these two countries. They have now fallen apart. Years. MBS and MBZ. And then let's not forget Israel, which has entered Somali Land, which is recognized Somali Land.
I'll explain that.
Yes.
we need a little explanation. I'll take you through each one. You see, what
Yes.
our the viewers must understand is, it is not Iran alone which is in a problem,
Yes.
right? The thing which is happening elsewhere also has a bearing in what's happening in Iran. We will discuss only Iran, right?
Right.
Syria has got a problem. Syria today is split. Though that fellow that what is it, that Al Qaeda fellow in a suit is there, but he Al Jolani in a suit.
Yes.
But
Jolani. Yeah. Right.
uh, that Syria is still not that consolidated. But
Right.
now,
It's
let me
all
tell you
divided
the
into zones
problem.
of influence. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a problem in Yemen. There's a problem in Somali Land. This is the next star. There's a problem in Sudan, and there's a
Yes.
problem in Libya. And this
Right.
fight is between Saudi Arabia and UAE.
Yes.
UAE and Saudi Arabia, who are good friends till a month back, today are looking at different directions.
Right. Right.
And I mean, and why are they fighting? That's the crux. If you understand that, the rest, everything, a lot of things will come in place. Because, in Middle East, Dubai and UAE were the center of finance and center of, everything. The ideological center was Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the ideological center wants to become the financial center. Vision 2030
Saudi Arabia.
MBZ,
Well,
Saudi
yeah.
Arabia. That will be at the expense of Dubai. So, hence, Dubai is protecting itself.
Right.
UAE is wants to grab a share. It wants to grab a share with Trump. It wants to grab a share with all around. So, there is a conflict of interest. So, for the past 1 year, in fact, more than 1 year, these chaps have slowly started falling apart.
Right.
And this falling apart, we'll discuss this. Important. What will be the effect on Pakistan? We'll discuss that. But I think we need, all people need to understand what's happening. All these stars I've put, what is it?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to take a shot at Yemen first?
So
Yeah,
Yemen is interesting. So this starts with Yemen, of course, was a unified country until about 2000. And then in 2004, if I remember correctly, they split. It was North Yemen and South Yemen. So the red part you see is North Yemen, and South Yemen is the pink
this
part.
green part. No, actually,
now,
if
yes,
you go back till 1990, there were two separate
90.
countries.
Two separate countries.
This
North
is
Yemen and South Yemen.
this is what I put here. Yemen pre-1990 unification. This was Yemen Arabic Republic, North Yemen, People's Democratic Republic of Yemen, which was the South Yemen.
Right.
Okay. Then, of course, this Houthis came. This is Houthi land, right? And right. Now, the rest of Yemen was the, one kind of a thing. In fact, when both these countries, when North and South Yemen came, till 2004, like you said, they were one country, till the Houthis rebelled. And the Houthis rebelled against the Saudis. And if you remember that Aramco oil installations hit by 14 drones.
On Aramco. Was it in 19 using drones and missiles, long-range missiles?
Yeah, 2019, right?
Yes.
With 1,500 kilometers away. That was the first mass attack with swarm drones and missiles, and they hit those two Al Quraysh and Rubaik. I remember two. Okay, that from then onwards, the Saudis have been having a running fight with Houthis, and they've not been able to this thing. This went on. Now suddenly,
Shankar, the Houthi thing was 2014. They actually surged out of the mountains of northern Yemen, and they came and they started controlling the capital, Sana'a, and that is when the Saudi UAE coalition in 2015. That's a decade ago. They intervened, and they thought it was going to be an easy battle. MBZ and CPS were on the same side. This was this great father figure kind of thing that he was mentoring MBS, as they said, and he was this young prince, impetuous. There is a Saudi Arabian Game of Thrones story here, where this senior citizen kind of takes this junior under his wing. They both go and invade Yemen, thinking it's going to collapse. But then things don't play out to plan because the Houthis are very tenacious fighters, and Iran is backing the Houthis, of course. And then I think in 2022 they had a ceasefire of sorts. The
Yeah,
Saudis
they had
said,
a
"Look,
ceasefire of sorts and all that.
yeah,"
But
and
and they, between UAE and Saudis, they had a multinational force which was held by
yes,
Rahil Sharif, who was the
right,
head from Pakistan. They took that fellow and all that. But
yeah,
like you rightly said, this multinational force couldn't make headway against Houthis. This is the
yes,
Houthi land, right? Around
yes.
Sana'a,
The red,
right?
they are the de facto
Yeah, the red.
rulers of northern Yemen.
Yes. Now the thing is, today that whole story is unraveled, and this is the latest. You see, today
Yes,
Yemen is in four parts. Let me
yeah,
now explain these four parts. This is controlled by Houthis. This
right,
green part is the one which is controlled by a chap called Saleh. Saleh
yeah.
is the son of the original president Saleh of
Ali Abdullah
Yemen,
Saleh. Yes,
Ali Abdullah Saleh. His son controls the small part. He's backed by
yeah,
UAE.
yes,
This pink part which I've shown is the Southern Transitional Council.
yeah. The
Okay, this is
STC.
Tariq Saleh's, yeah, STC, right? And this is backed by UAE. UAE and Tariq Saleh's force are, backed by UAE. Now, this gray part is the government, recognized government,
Yes,
that is being backed
yes,
by Saudi Arabia.
yeah,
So this actually comes back to this pre-1990 thing where there's a South Yemen and a
yes,
North Yemen. Okay. Now, if you look at this, UAE through supporting the Southern Transitional Council and the Tariq Saleh's gang, they are
yeah.
controlling the Red Sea Channel,
Right,
Bab al Mandeb,
right,
right? And they push the Houthis back. Houthis can only do from Port Hudaida, whatever they have to do. But the main channels they have started controlling. Also in Hadramut and Almara,
yes.
there's oil. Oil is also under
No, yeah,
UAE control.
yeah.
Okay. And 2 days back, 3 days back, there's a place, this Mukalla, at Port
Al
Mukalla.
Mukalla. Yeah,
UAE was,
yeah,
yeah, Al Mukalla, they were sending arms and the Saudis bombed it out, right? And yesterday night also it got repeated. The Saudis have gone berserk against the STC forces in Hadramut. So
they've
this
actually
war is
given
going
a
on.
very, yeah, they've gave a very stern ultimatum. 24 hours we give you to vacate. They told the UAE, get out
Vacate.
of Yemen.
Yes. And the UAE has said we'll vacate. But what's going to
Yes,
happen, we don't know. Acha,
yeah,
interestingly, in all this, the Saudis have started negotiating with the Houthis.
yes.
That's also happening. So there's a bugger's muddle out here.
August Mandel,
And we
absolutely.
must and we must also remember that the Houthis are still linked with Iran. Now,
Yes,
if Houthis do a deal with Saudi Arabia and they ditch Iran, Iran
yeah,
loses more power, Iran becomes weaker. Iran becomes weaker, then the chance of collapse in Iran are even more
yes,
greater.
right,
So, after all, Iran still has some, I would say maybe marginal. It has got some grip over Houthis and Iraqi militias and a minuscule part in Hezbollah. But
right,
if Houthis go and Iran goes, then the whole scene changes. I mean, this is what I wanted to bring out.
right.
Anything else you
Absolutely.
want to add on
Yeah.
Houthi, Yemen,
So,
or I'll
very
go?
quickly, Jan Shankar, the fact that the Houthis have, they've inaugurated this era of modern warfare against, where land-based powers are attacking ships far out at sea. They've been using the first large-scale use of anti-ship ballistic missiles, drones, and unmanned surface vessels by the Houthis. Imagine that, a non-state, a so-called
Yeah,
non-state actor using this, and the US has been fighting them in the Gulf of Aden and of course in the Red Sea. They've hijacked a
yeah,
number of ships, they've sunk some of those ships, they've literally shut the Red Sea to traffic that is linked to Israel, Western militaries, Western nations. And there is one little speck there on the map which I wanted you to highlight, Jan Shankar. It is Socotra. It's far to the east of the Horn of Africa, right there. And that is one of the most important bases that the UAE has in the Arabian Sea. That's a very strategic island. It's Socotra. It's of course owned by Yemen, the Southern Transitional Council, and UAE has a military presence over there. And it's so interesting that, Socotra, incidentally, is the size of Goa. It's about 3,000 square kilometers, and the UAE forces have got a base there. And it's amazing that a country the size of the United Arab Emirates is expanding its military capabilities throughout the Arabian Peninsula. If you remember, about was it 2 years back, where they carried out a strike in Libya
Yep.
in favor of Haftar's regime. They struck the other side, the Western Libya, and these were UAE jets that were flying this long-range attack mission. So UAE is a power that has come up in the last decade or so under Mohammed bin Zayed, and that's actually put him on a collision course with his erstwhile protege, this Mohammed bin Salman.
See, it's. I think the UAE people realize the problem they're going to face, and they started preparing. I will
Right.
put it this way: it's not only Libya, it's also Sudan. Look at Sudan. For those of you who don't, this is Sudan. Let me take people back. So we'll touch Sudan. From here, we jumped across. This is the Red Sea. Sudan has got Port Sudan out here, which is critical, just opposite Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia has interests in this part of Sudan. And just to give the larger picture, UAE has got interest in this part of Sudan, and we'll come to it. Right? This is the way it is split. Today, in Sudan, there are two forces, and I've done a show on this. For those of you who want to know, go to my Gunner Shot and type Sudan, and you'll get that thing which I've done. There's the Sudan Armed Forces, which is here, and there's the RSF, Rapid Support Force, which controls this yellow part of Sudan.
Yellow
Right?
part of
This
so
is
for
the
the
Darfur
viewers,
area.
who are trying to understand this, the government's forces are of course in pink, and the RSF would be the equivalent of the CRPF, which are paramilitary force, which actually broke away from the government, and they are now fighting the, let's say, the Indian army, if you can say that. That's the analogy that I want.
But unfortunately, both these guys are of equal strength. They've held each other off. And if you remember, just about 2 months back, there's this place called Al Fashar, where the RSF people evicted the Sudan Armed Forces character, government forces. In fact, there was they had a warehouse in which the Sudan Armed Forces guys had Chinese weapon systems, MBRLs, which the RSF guys came, took over. The Chinese ran away, and they bloody took everything. And slowly, the RSF has become strong. Now, very interestingly, this is Port Sudan. This is Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia is interested in this part of Sudan. UAE is here, and there is gold there. RSF. Right. UAE is supporting RSF, and there is gold out there. And the fundamental problem between UAE and Saudi Arabia has started there. So far, as far as it was only about Sudan, it didn't matter. But now the problem has jumped from Sudan to Yemen.
Yes.
Okay. You want to talk anything of this? Because I want to go to Djibouti from here.
So it is interesting that in all of these regional conflicts that Sudan, the Saudis are backing the government or so-called government, whatever it controls. It is in favor of a unity government in Yemen, in Sudan, in Libya, in all of these countries, right? Whereas it's interesting that the UAE is supporting the breakaway factions in all of these places.
All these countries?
STC, it's Yemen, RSF in Sudan, in Libya, it is Haftar's, the warlord, General Haftar's military. And in Somali Land, Somalia, it's backing Somali Land, which is not the official government.
We'll come to that. I'll come to that. See, there's yet another thing. Saudis are backing the government, S2L governments. UAE are backing the rebels, and they're gunning for economy. Because in Yemen, the oil is in this area, Hadramaut and Al-Mara. Yemen, it's also, Look, people must remember Yemen has, what shall I say, was exporting oil once upon a time. Oil
Yeah,
exporter. Now, by controlling Socotra, Aden, and this bit, of Red Sea
Djibouti.
channel,
Yeah,
yeah. So the lines of communication are being controlled by UAE.
yeah,
UAE has played itself into a thing. All this has happened in the past 6, 7 months. Six
yes,
months back, all this was not existent. And here, UAE is supporting RSF for gold because in Darfur there is gold. Okay. And of course, the Nile Valley, these chaps are generally either side of Nile, and we'll leave it at that. So this is what
yeah.
our thing. Now let's get to this place. This is where Yemen, this
Somaliland.
is the Horn of Africa. Now, this is a very interesting thing which people need to understand. This is Somalia. Nominally, this entire area is Somalia. Okay. Now, within this, Puntland, which is actually the Horn of Africa, is a
Yeah,
semi-autonomous state.
right,
And there's this place called Somali Land, which is now a self-declared independent state. This
right,
has been in existence. This is contended. No one is bothered about it.
right.
Now, once upon a time, when Somalia, the piracy, everything was active 2, 3, I won't say 2, 3 years back, but 10 years back and a decade back, Mogadishu had fallen. It was warlord controlled. And that is when Somaliland and Puntland put their flags up. And they've never
Yeah,
put the flag down, though some kind of control has come over Somalia. Now, these
right.
existed like this. 3 days, I think last week, Israel went and recognized Somaliland as an independent nation.
Yes.
Interestingly, there's some handle, I don't know who it is, which I didn't have time to go into it, in X, which has said that India is likely to recognize Somaliland. If that happens, it's going to be something. Okay.
Right. So
Now,
it'll be
no one
India,
else
UAE,
wants.
Israel. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's the thing. So, and Israel is being supported by UAE in the recognition of Somaliland.
Yeah.
Okay, Puntland has also now said we want to be independent. Mogadishu is crying and they're being supported by Saudis.
Right.
And USA has not taken a stance on it. USA has not taken a stance on it because Israel has already put its thing. So if Israel has got the backing of USA in declaring Somaliland as an independent country, okay, and India also jumps into the fray, right? Then that means this entire area of Djibouti, Somaliland, and the Red Sea, and this, of course, Socotra comes here. This land. Then you're looking at a shift, a major shift, and then I don't know whether that will happen or not, but the fact is UAE has spread its wings, right? I'll
Yes.
go back to this. UAE, which is here, has spread its wing to Yemen. It has gone to Somalia. It has gone to Sudan, and it has gone to Libya,
Right.
right?
What does this mean for
You
General Asim Munir, General Shankar? The fact that he is
we'll come to that. Yeah,
riding
no,
two
that's right.
bikes.
No, now you tell me what it means because
I,
Asim
Ajay
Munir,
Devgan again. I've just
Ajay
sent you that
Devgan again.
little meme of him riding two bikes. The Munir, one bike is MBS and the other one is MBZ. He's close to both Saudi Arabia and UAE, but now I think the Saudis are not very happy with what he's done. He's gone and promised $4 billion worth of arms to Haftar, right? A
Yeah,
lot of Chinese arms, of course, and some stuff that the Pakistan ordnance factories make. $4 billion of arms is a lot of arms to a country that's sanctioned. It's under UN sanctions. You can't export arms to them. And he ends up making Haftar's faction stronger, and they can actually, destabilize the other faction, which Saudi Arabia recognizes. So I don't think Mohammed bin Salman is going to look upon that very kindly. The fact that
no.
here is someone who's done a defense pact with me a few months back, and now he goes and he does what MBZ tells him to do, which is go and sell arms to Haftar.
Hey, not only that, you also
Yeah.
must remember that Fauji Foundation.
Yes.
You know that Fauji
The largest
Foundation,
agency in Pakistan.
yeah, that has been shares of that has been given to UAE,
Yes.
right? And Saudis are bankrolling Pakistan, but
Right.
the shares of Saudi Foundation go to UAE.
Right.
Saudis have demanded that Pakistanis give troops for their fight, and
Yes.
and Pakistan is playing a double game. So
Double game.
suddenly so it'll get caught. Like I'm trying to pull that picture out. Let me see if I can get that picture of yours which you sent with Dev, that Ajay Devgan's kind of a thing.
It's on your
I'm
WhatsApp,
trying.
yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, I see that. Only thing I'm seeing, I've saved it. I don't know where it's gone. Hmm. Okay. Anyway, we'll at this point of WhatsApp. Let me see
So this,
WhatsApp. I'm not able to get hold of it. Anyway, it's okay. If you can load it, you can load it.
We are actually coming down full circle. We've just gone over the entire Arabian Peninsula, and now we're going to the back to Pakistan, which is our favorite topic.
No, there are other issues in Pakistan. The point is now with this war which is going on here, right? There's a war here, isn't it? And with the kind of things which have happened, after all, it is here that the action is taking place, fighting is taking place, and Saudi Arabia wants to, expand this area. Okay. So if they want to expand this area, there has to be on-ground action for which Pakistan has to commit troops. If Pakistan has to commit troops here, and if Pakistan has got to commit troops in Gaza, what will be the state of Pakistan internally against India? And where does it leave Pakistan? After all, at the end of the day, for Pakistan, it's the anti-India thing.
Yes.
So it leaves Pakistan at a disadvantage internally. Yes. Because people are going to question this whole story, their ideology, against Jews, all that. And Pakistan is supporting UAE, which is supporting Israel. That's also going to come. So Pakistan, I think, plus if you push two divisions into the deserts, what is left with you for one core gone? So Pakistan is going to have a lot of problems.
They'll have to pay the bills again.
They'll have to pay their bill.
They'll have to pay the bills, General Shankar.
I think so. So and plus the fact that the instability of whatever is happening in Iran could fall on them.
Yes.
That's also there, no? Whatever, if suppose tomorrow Iran goes under, let's say.
Yeah.
We don't know, right? We'll know in the next 72, 96 hours. If Iran goes under, what happens to Pakistan? So there's going to be a domino effect. There could be a domino effect on Pakistan. Right. There could be a domino effect on Pakistan. Their economies are side by side. Who will bail out Pakistan?
It runs on all the oil that comes in from Iran. A lot of the illegal oil smuggling that happens flows in from Iran into Pakistan.
Yes. That is a problem. Plus the fact, yesterday I believe, I have not seen that thing, already some Chinese YouTube channels are talking of a domino effect on China.
Right. Of what happened in Iran.
What's happening in Iran? It's a big country. People are not happy. People, all that thing. And it could be a domino effect on China. You see, many of these domino effects don't start out of the blue. They start by someone talking, some YouTube channel talking, discussion. Then it will go into the streets slowly. One way or the other, information will penetrate. Right. So what is happening in Iran, if it penetrates China, China has a problem. By now, it would have penetrated Pakistan. Pakistan is facing a problem, the way I look at it.
So Munir has a lot of reasons to worry about Iran's protests and the spiraling Pakistan.
And if you go and bail out Iran in the near future, the way we have discussed earlier, then Pakistan is in a bigger problem.
Right.
So I think the whole lot of things are there. And I think you did a good job by prompting me that we discuss entire the West Asia, because just discussing Iran doesn't give you the full picture. right?
Right.
And we've now got the whole picture of the whole thing. And I mean, if you want to take on questions, we can take on a few.
Yes, yes, absolutely. There's that I've just put in that little meme that we created, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
relevant to Pakistan anytime we're looking at.
Yeah. Oh, wait, this has gone somewhere. Let me come.
There it is. Yeah.
It's come? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, little field
Yeah, this
marshal
is where he's
asking.
going to get caught. Yeah, he'll
Yes,
do this
that's where
Ajay Devgan trick.
and the
Yes.
electricity pole will appear, or one of the
Yep.
drivers will say enough is enough.
No, that Kamba in between, no, is that ISF. That ISF is that Kamba which is going to come in between. So let us see where this goes. So yeah.
Right.
So I think we've tackled a whole lot of things. Let's
Yes.
take a few questions. Yeah, this is what he says. He says on Lee's Real Talk yesterday, she drew an interesting parallel between the current
Right.
unrest in Iran and similar
Fascinating.
inevitable unrest in China. Conditions
Hmm.
being the same, only lagging. Your views, sir. Your views. Let me ask you your views, Sandeep, on this.
This is a very big problem, and it's dictatorships like this that have to worry about street protests going out of hand. I'm sure India also worries about the so-called Arab Spring kind of movements, but I think we are inherently far stronger than in any of these countries. And if you look at it, but it is dictatorships like in China, in Pakistan that have to really worry about street protests, and they always have to put out some kind of a circus act to then shift the attention of the people, like what Munir has done in Pakistan in the last year or two. And which is why I go back to what you said at one of our shows, that last year when you were talking about how to respond to Munir, and you said that we must not strike him militarily because it only
Yeah, we should not.
strengthens him.
It
Yeah, and
strengthens him.
so I
Yes.
think that's a big fair point. That dictatorships like this thrive on military crisis outside of their borders, so that take the attention of their citizens away. And it is movements like this and this domino effect that you mentioned that is, I'm sure it has worried everyone. They all have sleepless nights. And I'm sure that Xi Jinping is not focused on Taiwan as intently as he was a few days back. And it
Yeah.
fire in the backyard, which is Iran.
Iran. Yeah. And we'll touch on this. There's a question. It says, why can't China bail out Iran like India did to Sri Lanka? You think
Yeah, good question.
China can bail out Iran?
Well, if they could bail out Iran, they would have done it a long time ago. Why would they wait? They haven't, and it's remarkable how they've just been very happy to let Iran cook in its own sauce. There's not much of thing. Iran was under direct attack from Israel. China didn't say much, didn't do much. It just made some polite
Yep.
noises. That's about. I think they
That's
have
it.
serious internal issues in Iran, in China, to not back the Iranian regime openly.
I don't know, because they have a 25-year agreement with them.
Yes.
They have a 25-year partnership agreement which they've signed with China, between China and Iran. And despite that, China didn't help Iran during the crisis, 3 months back when that war was taking place.
Yes.
When, Fordo, we were discussing Fordo, Natanz, all that. And those bombs, those bunker busters were going into Iran. And China did nothing. They just kept quiet in Djibouti and held firm there. And
Yeah.
after this, now this crisis, again, China is not doing anything. It just goes to prove that China is not going to help anyone. They didn't help Sri Lanka out.
Yeah.
They want Hambantota from Sri Lanka, but they didn't help Sri Lanka out. They didn't help Maldives out. Remember,
Yes.
they're not helping Bangladesh also out now. The Bangladeshis who are seeing this must understand. China is not going to help anyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
China helps itself.
China helps itself. Yeah. So I think this is a very major thing which has happened. So China will not bail out. And in any case, internally China is at a problem which we've highlighted. So that's how it is.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So next, say China has incentives to save the current regime. China wants Islamists to continue the havoc in Middle East. China doesn't want US backed Shah. So
Absolutely.
your views on the
No, I mean, I completely agree. The last thing that China would want in Iran is regime change. And the fact is that they do not want a US backed regime in Iran, because it means that a very significant oil provider, oil natural gas provider to Iran, becomes a vassal or an ally of the United States, and such an important country, Iran. We don't realize how strategically important it is, which is why the US was in Iran for the number of years that it was, right from the 50s, 40s, 50s, right down to 78, till the time they had no option. Khomeini then entered in January 1979. Even then, I think they said that, okay, we can possibly do business with Khomeini, and then they realized, oh my God, this guy is out of control as well. So then they kind of egged on Saddam Hussein to launch that war with Iran and stuff. So, I mean, China would definitely not want to see a US supported regime there. And they have a lot of incentives to save the current regime, but they're not. Because, what happens if Iran kind of goes, if it collapses, then that entire Shia axis of resistance, which is balancing Sunni Arab, fundamentalism, that goes away. Then the Sunni side becomes very strong, and then the Shias then kind of take a beating, that kind of thing. So that natural order, the natural balance is going to be disrupted, and China would certainly not want that. And Iran is one of the largest oil suppliers, and that's a very basic requirement for the Chinese.
Yep. Unitan sir loved the future of Navy session where the latest technology was displayed, and we need more of such stuff. Please continue bringing them all to us. Yeah, I think
That's on
so.
Chakran. You can. It's on, sir. It's on Swavlamban. Swavlamban
Yeah,
2025 is something
Solomon.
that we get done in October.
Yeah.
So it was a interesting thing to see naval innovators there doing stuff. Great stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Look, the situation is really serious, and this is not a political shift. It is a civilizational shift, because they have destroyed Islamic architecture and are chanting slogans about Cyrus the Great and whoever. You think there's a thing which has happened? Premature for on our
Absolutely.
part to think this way.
I think it's a little premature, but what if if there is a regime change, then there would be a civilizational shift, because then if the royalists come back, if Reza Pahlavi, that's the Mohammad Reza Shah's son, who's about 65 years old, he's anointing himself as he's a king in waiting, sitting in the United States, waiting to come and fly in and take over as the new Shah of Iran. Then you will see a lot of this this about Iran being a civilizational continuum, and the Achaemenid Empire, the Persians, Xerxes, Cyrus, all that comes into play, I guess. Though I'm not sure
But it's
how
not.
comfortable they will be with imperial Iran.
See, there is. Civilizational countries have their own autarky which runs, irrespective of others who
Yes.
get into the deal. Okay, they have their own internal dynamics. So my view is that firstly, it will be very difficult for the Shah chap to come in, because he's not even born here.
Yeah.
He might have been born, but he's not been here. Right?
He left
He
when he was,
doesn't
I think,
know.
very small. Right? I mean, about 18 years.
Yeah,
He
he
was,
was
if I remember correctly, he was learning. He was flight. He's a pilot. He was training in the United States at the age of 18. So
with
he was
all
born in
the
1960. So he was training in the United States when his father was deposed. So he's actually seen very little of present day Iran. He's been mostly outside. Most of his years
yeah.
have been spent
So
outside.
so the point is that how much he'll have a hold, how much will he know how to run current Iran is anybody's
Yeah.
quiz. Plus, the fact is that Iran itself is a divided nation internally. There's not much,
Yeah.
you have a whole lot of hardliners still there. So even if there's a regime change, there's going to be a problem. If there's no regime change, there's going to be a problem. So you're going to see instability one way or the other. It's nice for us to
Right.
say civilizational states, this will happen, that will happen, but much of it will not this thing. So let's go to another question. If a pro-US regime comes up, but they do not relax the Chabahar port access to us, what then? Going by how the US has been belligerent to us, is this not a possible scenario? Yeah.
It is. It
Do
is.
you think this is a?
It is a very
Do you
serious.
think? Yeah, but the fact is that as it is, Chabahar port is with us. Even if it goes to a pro-US regime, it will still continue to be with us. And
Yeah.
like I said earlier, we are the only country which can, uh, step into Iran today.
Right.
You're the only
But then
one
the
who
US
has the.
is regulating our access. US regulates our access to Chabar, which is not a good thing, I think.
Yeah, but the fact is, if there's a US-backed regime, then that sanctions or whatever will go out. One. See, the thing
Yeah.
is, it's only India which has the credentials to go and operate across all divides in Iran. Because
Yeah.
if US-backed regime comes in, they'll keep China out, they'll keep Russia out. And on its own, USA can't do much. So they'll need India. That's a given, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So here's a counter view. It's better that India does not get involved. The mullah will never appreciate, and they create a lot of problems to world peace by supporting Hamas, Yemen, and Hezbollah. Your view?
Well, see, Iran, the axis of resistance was basically set up by this guy called Qasem Soleimani, who was assassinated by Donald Trump about 5 years, 6 years back. So it was actually a defensive mechanism because Iran felt very vulnerable. So it actually created this so-called ring of thing around it, so that it would be some kind of a tripwire. So it created all these proxies to engage the West, so that they would not focus directly on Iran. But now, as we discussed in the show today, that ring is cracked, it's collapsed. And Iran is also under direct attack for the first time. It's been attacked directly by the United States a few months back when they took out their nuclear sites. And you're seeing a lot of economic chaos, collapse. So it's actually a recipe for disaster. And as General Shankar said, I think next 48, 72 hours is going to be very crucial. What happens in Iran, and of course, India not getting involved. I think, well, we need to get involved at some point. Otherwise, there's no point being a power of consequence in Asia
Whatever
if
you
you're
want
not
to
able
be.
to
Yeah.
help out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Will it be in India's interest of Baluch part of Iran wants an independent state? And if that is the case, what needs to be done? I mean, he's looking at joining the Baluch part, the Sistan
Iranian
Baluchistan
Baloch.
part with the
Yes. Yes.
and the Pakistani Baloch and form a
Pakistani
state.
Baloch.
I think I think at this point of time that's utopian, and we shouldn't get involved in such kind of fancy ideas.
Yes.
You're not strong enough for that. You're strong enough to help Iran out, but you're not strong enough to start creating states. Let's be very
Yes.
clear. Yeah. It seems USA will not allow India to take any advantage in Iran. Your view on that?
It's it's true to an extent, because Iran, the United States will want to be the dominant player in Iran, and I think they're very clear with the President Trump statement. They want to be the lead power over there, and they will ensure whatever future party in Iran is, whichever regime takes over, will be, because actually, if you look at it, General Shankar, Trump has also been, during when he was running for office in 2023, 24, 23, 24, he actually said, look, Iran is such a great place economically, but completely cut off. They should be doing business. So he sees Iran as an economic opportunity rather than geostrategic or anything. So I think the primary thing is for him to open Iran up for business, and he understands that in the present circumstances, it will need regime change, and that's why they're going ahead. And so they will want to take the maximum benefit out of it. And as you've mentioned as well, they would not want India to move in there until it suits them. So USA is pursued entirely by their national self-interest, and they will see where India fits into their calculus.
Yeah, this is interesting. He says, please read the 100-day transition plan to get an idea how things will be managed. It was put out 6 months ago by the Iran Prosperity Project for this contingency. Well, let's see how things happen.
Yeah, best laid plans of mice and men, as they say.
My they all, Okay, let me take one more question. Okay, yeah, this is a question. IITM ramjet artillery shell or DRDO artillery shells don't put so much emphasis like there's some great guys with extraordinary abilities. Well, that's your view, Krishna Upadhyay ji, but a lot of hard work has gone, and it's a lot of things are happening.
Yeah.
It's premature for me to talk of it in detail, but suffice to know that things are going in the right direction. Okay, anything else you want to
Right.
say?
And
Otherwise, we'll call it.
there was a 2 week. Yeah. No, nothing, Jan Shankar. Just to tell our viewers who are watching, the viewers of Chakra News and Gunner's Shot, that there was a 2 week gap there. Jan Shankar had vanished, and we could not do any podcast with him because he was in the remote part of Rajasthan desert. Every time I would call him and say, "Sir, can we do a podcast?" He says, "No, no, no. I'm in far away from civilization and this thing." So I never knew what he was up to. But then I discovered that. He was spending his spare time testing these ramjet rounds that you spoke of in the desert. And this is something that is really, and I've been following that project very closely for the last couple of years. General Shankar will not reveal too much, or at least on a public platform yet, but he's promised me when the time is right to talk about it. I think we are going to have
We will talk
a
of it.
cracker of a
Yeah,
podcast
we'll
with
talk.
him to talk about ramjet or artillery rounds that he's been developing. But in closing, General Shankar, I think we're looking at we ended the year in 2025 with that discussion on the minefield for India.
Yes.
What are the challenges ahead, and the 5 countries that will threaten us, challenge us in 2026. But in the last few days since that podcast, our broadcast, uh, the region has kind of opened up into a minefield. If you look at it, all these countries, Yemen, Iran, Sudan, Libya, all of these places, there's something or the other happening there. And I think it's troubled times ahead. And I think many of these conflicts, as we've highlighted today, are interlinked. They have common
Yes.
players, they have common actors, they have common interests who are, they're on opposite sides, of course. And this rivalry between Saudi Arabia and UAE is one of the greatest stories of our times. I mean, who would have imagined even 20 years back that you will see the crown prince of Saudi Arabia fighting with the president of UAE, the Sheikh of Abu Dhabi, right? And the Emiratis would become such a big military power, and that they would actually create a military industrial complex and start exporting weapons, and those weapons would be destroyed by Saudi Arabian jets in Yemen, in Al Mukalla. I mean, so it's fascinating the way the world is evolving in very unpredictable ways. So, but this is something that we as experts, commentators, and Jan Shankar, of course, as geopolitical analyst, will continue to make sense of for our viewers, our listeners who are out there. So, for all of you there, thank you very much for joining us, and please continue to like, share, and subscribe to Gunner's Shot, and of course to Chakra News.
Thanks a lot. So with this, we'll sign off for the day and meet you next week.
Thank you.
Right.
Have a lovely weekend.
Have a lovely weekend. Yeah.